I hate to travel, especially for work. But my wife, Maya, loves new places. So when I got assigned to a conference in rural Vermont, I saw it as a chance to make her happy. A cute bed and breakfast, fall foliage, small town charm. What could possibly go wrong? We rented this secluded cabin, not middle of nowhere, but surrounded by dense, tall trees that blocked out the sun. Private. Quiet. Maya fell in love the moment we arrived. But then, she saw the basement. A large, dark basement filled with heavy, dust-covered furniture. She joked about turning it into a wine cellar. I joked about never going down there. I should have listened to my gut. First night, I woke up exactly at 3 a.m. The bed was cold. Maya wasn't there. I walked into the kitchen and found her, just standing there, holding an empty mug, staring blankly at the dark wall. "Couldn't sleep," she whispered, her voice trembling. I woke up around 2. I thought I saw someone standing in the corner of our bedroom, a shadow, taller than a man. I tried to focus, but it was too dark. Then I heard a low, scratching noise from that same corner. After that, I couldn't stay in that room. She looked exhausted, terrified. I held her close, telling her it was just shadows, a new place, strange sounds. She wanted to believe me. The next morning, I left for my conference, and Maya went to explore the town, anything to avoid staying in that cabin alone. Before she left, she rushed into the shower. When she came out, her neatly folded clothes were completely messed up, half folded, thrown across the floor in a straight line, stretching toward the basement door. Then, her socks vanished. She grabbed another pair, completely panicked, called an Uber, and fled to town. Her texts to me during the day were short, lifeless. I left the conference early and found her at a local coffee shop. She was pale, shaking violently. She felt like she was losing her mind. I believed her now. Something was deeply wrong with that house. We spent the afternoon in town trying to forget. By midnight, we were back in bed. Then, it happened. At 3:15 a.m., Maya shook me awake. "Someone's walking around downstairs," she breathed into my ear. I froze. I heard it too. Footsteps, slow, deliberate, and heavy. Walking across the hardwood floor, coming directly from the kitchen. Maya begged me not to leave, crying silently. But I had to know. I grabbed the flashlight, my heart hammering against my ribs, and stepped into the hallway. The living room was empty. The kitchen, empty. Then, my eyes landed on it. The basement door. It was slightly open. A cold, freezing draft was leaking from the crack, and an old, musty smell of things long forgotten. I pulled the door open, shone the light down the stairs. At the bottom, total darkness. "Maya, stay upstairs," I called out. My voice cracked. No answer. I went down, one agonizing step at a time. The air grew colder with every step. The flashlight beam cut through the dust, passing over old boxes until it hit the far corner. There was a figure, standing perfectly still, facing the wall. It was wearing a large, faded red hat, arms tight at its sides. It looked like a mannequin, a sick joke left by the owners. I took one more step. Suddenly, the figure blinked and slowly began to turn its head around, with a loud, sickening crack. It didn't have a normal face. It was completely blank, smooth white skin, except for a wide, jagged grin carved into its head. I screamed. I turned and flew up the stairs, 2 at a time, crying out for Maya. She was already at the door, sobbing, clutching her keys. "We're leaving!" "Now!" I yelled. We didn't pack. We didn't grab our bags. As I slammed the front door behind us, I looked back at the basement door one last time. It was wide open now, and standing right behind the screen door was the silhouette of the red hat, its long, thin fingers tapping slowly against the glass. Tap, tap, tap. We drove like madmen to the nearest hotel, 40 miles away. Checked in at 2:30 a.m. Maya finally cried herself to sleep. I sat by the window, staring into the pitch-black parking lot, waiting for that red hat to appear in the shadows. A week later, I got an email from the rental company. Brief, professional. We have investigated the property. Out of caution, we have removed the listing pending further review. We found evidence of unauthorized entry. Someone had been living inside the walls of the basement for months. I stared at that email for a long time. Maya doesn't talk about it anymore, but she still checks closets before bed, still wakes at 3 a.m. sometimes, still asks me if I heard something. I always say no, even when I do, because lately, every time I open our bedroom closet, I can hear that same soft, slow tap, tap, tap coming from behind the wall. I thought the cabin was behind us, thought we could move on, forget. But some places don't let you leave. They follow you, in shadows, in sounds, in the way you check closets before bed. We didn't travel for months after that. Maya needed time. I needed time. But winter came, and we needed sun. Something warm, something normal. Costa Rica, a luxury resort. Ocean view. The kind of place where nothing bad could possibly happen. I paid extra for security, for a room on the second floor, with no basement, no storage, no dark corners. The first 3 days were perfect. Beach, sunsets, expensive dinners. Maya laughed again. Really laughed. Not the nervous sound she'd made since Vermont. I started to believe we were safe. Night 3. We sat by the pool after a fire show. The place cleared out. Just us. And the sound of the waterfall in the hot tub. We grabbed drinks from the room, planning to soak in the water, hidden by the thick tropical plants. That's when I noticed him. Through the dense leaves, a figure was crouching. Not walking, not passing by. Crouching and watching us. "Hey!" I shouted. It took me seconds to climb out. By the time I hit the concrete walkway, he was gone. He turned the corner toward our building. I ran after him, but there was only an empty, dark trail. And silence. Maya wanted to leave it. We laughed it off, but the vibe was dead. No privacy anymore. We grabbed towels and walked back. The path ran between the luxury buildings and the raw, black jungle. Halfway to our room, we heard rustling. Not small. Not an animal. Heavy. Human. Maya begged to go in. I told her to run ahead, gave her the key card, and I stepped closer to the jungle line. I listened. Then, I heard it. A strange, metallic buzzing sound, coming from a human throat. A low, glitching grumble. Before I could move, whoever was in there scattered deeper into the darkness on all fours. I bolted inside and slammed the door. We locked everything. We told ourselves locked doors kept us safe. The next day, we warned a worker, trying to forget. Suddenly, a man approached us on the beach. He was dressed like an employee, holding a vintage camera. But he was white. Pale. Almost too pale. Bloodless. "Smile," he whispered. We posed out of habit, and he snapped the photo. Click. He smiled a wide, cold smile and walked away. We watched him, expecting him to approach other guests, but he didn't. He walked straight into the thick jungle foliage and disappeared. That night, we called it early. exhausted. We fell asleep fast. I woke up to total darkness around 2 a.m. The sliding patio door was open to hear the waves. But I heard something else. A beep. Then another. Click. The familiar sound of a camera shutter. I sat straight up. On the patio, right behind the mesh screen, a tall silhouette stood. A human shape, pitch black against the night, taking pictures of us while we slept. "Hey!" I shouted again. Same word, same pure terror. The silhouette didn't flinch. It slowly lowered the camera, leaned its face against the screen, showing a smooth, faceless head, and then ran into the darkness. Maya woke up screaming. I slammed the patio door and called the front desk, my voice shaking. 10 minutes later, security arrived. I told them everything. The manager checked, his face growing pale. They didn't have any photographers on staff. It was the stalker. He had been watching us for 3 days. We demanded a new room with no patio. We didn't sleep a wink. At checkout, they showed us the security footage. My blood turned to ice. The footage didn't just show him on the patio. The footage from 3 a.m. showed the sliding door slowly opening, and the pale man standing inside our room, right at the foot of our bed, holding the camera over our faces for 40 minutes. We left immediately, relieved to go. I don't see Maya anymore, not like before. She moved out last month. She said she couldn't sleep, couldn't close her eyes without seeing that silhouette, without hearing that camera beep, without feeling watched. I still check my windows, every single night, even on the 3rd floor, even in winter, even when I know it's impossible, because I learned something in Costa Rica. Privacy is an illusion, and someone is always watching. You just don't know it until they want you to. And last night, right outside my 3rd floor window, I heard it again. Click. After Maya left, I needed to get away. Last year, I got a week off from work and decided to drive home to see my parents in Massachusetts. I work in South Carolina now. A long drive, but easy enough. I usually hate driving at night, but overnight means no traffic. Just throw on a podcast and chill. Only my brother knew I was coming. I wanted to surprise my parents in the morning. The worst part of the drive is Pennsylvania. The mountains, the winding, endless roads, and the fog. Every single time it's a thick, white wall. You can't see 10 feet ahead. This trip was no different. I was white-knuckling through the sharp curves when I saw it. A detour sign. Accident ahead. The arrow redirected me off the highway and into the pitch-black backroads. I drove for miles. No signs of life. My phone had 0 service, no GPS, no way to call for help. I was exhausted. My eyes grew heavy. My head kept dropping. And then, I dozed off, just for a second. I jerked the wheel, but it was too late. The car hit the guardrail, flipped, and rolled down into a steep, muddy ditch. The silence after a crash is the most terrifying sound in the world. I crawled out of the shattered window, coughing, my body aching. My phone screen was completely crushed. I was trapped in the freezing fog, miles away from civilization. Then, 2 bright headlights cut through the white wall. A pickup truck. It slowed down and reversed toward me. The window rolled down. An older couple was inside. "You look like you need help, sonny boy," the woman in the passenger seat said. Her voice sounded like grinding stones. They looked wrong. Dirty clothes, weathered faces, but their eyes were completely wide open, unblinking. And a strange chemical smell leaked from the truck, like the stuff they use to preserve bodies. The large man got out, grabbing a heavy metal chain from the truck bed. The woman got out too, inching closer to me. With every step she took, I stepped back. She kept forcing me backward, talking about the land, about people who wander off and get lost, until I was trapped against the back of their truck. "Want to see something cool?" she whispered, smiling. Her teeth were jagged and mostly missing. "No thanks," I said, my heart pounding against my ribs. I tried to move, but she blocked me. That's when my eyes darted to the truck bed. There was a large, heavy tarp covering something massive. As I stared, the tarp suddenly shifted. Something underneath was moving, slowly lifting up, the distinct shape of a human hand pressing against the fabric from the inside, trying to escape. My breath hitched. Suddenly, the old woman's face changed. Her smile vanished. She screamed, "Paul! Now!" The passenger door of the truck flew open. A younger man emerged, holding a long, rusted iron crowbar. He lunged directly at me. I dodged, falling backward into the mud. I scrambled to my feet and ran as fast as my legs could carry me, tearing into the dark, tangled woods. I didn't care about the branches scratching my face. I just needed to survive. I hid behind a massive tree, clutching my chest, trying not to make a sound. Through the fog, I heard their footsteps, crunching on dry leaves. Then, the old woman's voice called out into the trees. Sweet, yet completely psychotic. "Sonny boy, come out. Everything is okay now. We just want to help you. We have a place for you under the tarp." I held my breath, tears streaming down my face. Finally, after what felt like hours, I heard their truck engine roar to life, and they drove away. I stumbled back to the road. My car was completely ransacked. The seats were sliced open, my bags were gone, and neatly placed on the driver's seat was a small, tattered red hat. My heart stopped. I walked for hours until I found a 24-hour gas station. The police came, but they found nothing. No truck, no plates, no leads. I made it to my parents' house. Safe. But I never told them the full story. It was too dark. I don't drive at night anymore, because I learned the hard way. Privacy is an illusion. Help isn't always help. And some things follow you from place to place. Because yesterday, my brother called me. He was cleaning out the guest room where I stayed that night. He said he found something behind the dresser, a developed photograph. It was a picture of me, sleeping in my childhood bed, taken from inside the room, and written on the back in messy ink. "We found you, sonny boy.